bleep things out if we start talking about fishing.
All righty,
Is
take it
that
away, Chad. Thanks for jumping on here. Chad with Jing
uh,
Weevil.
sounds good? So I think I know most of you on the call anyway. So, but good to see everyone again. And Blake, thanks for joining. Um, just briefly, overview of Grain Weevil. So we are a grain bin management robot designed to take care of everything a human being can do inside of a grain bin. And this year, we've learned more and more about all the different stages that we can help in. Um, my son and I started this thing with absolutely no experience in grain. Um, didn't grow up on a farm, never been in a grain bin before we started. So we think that's a pretty important piece for all of that because a lot of you on this call have helped us a lot through the Ag Launch program and through feedback and input. So we're super excited to finally be launching our full product. So we got surprisingly the wires. The wire harnesses are the last thing to show up, and we're expecting them at the end of next week, and then we're going to start building 100 robots. So the current count right now, we have 62 robots deployed on farms, commercial trials. I'm in Colby, Kansas today, delivering 6 more robots to do commercial trials. So we've been pretty excited about what's been happening. I thought what I would do is do a kind of a quick show and tell if I have um,
You should be able to
screen
share.
sharing.
You should be able to share.
All right. Well, I'm going to share my screen. Can you guys see that picture?
Very good.
All right. So we are now IP rated. So IP 6.5 was the test, but we actually can do a lot more than that. So this is the robot going through the dust test. They pull a vacuum on the robot to see if dust can get inside. Pretty big milestone for us because this is our first third-party testing and our first step to getting our dust explosion certifications for the grain dust hazards. Uh, Pretty soon we're going to start sharing videos of us playing with it in the river. Um, we haven't done it yet, but that's one of my goals of this for a long time was to drive this robot in the river.
So do you have a use case then if that's the goal in the river?
The use case is I really want to drive the robot in the river. So so really no, we don't.
Of course
So
you do, Chad. You can take it out and drop your fishing bait.
well that's true. Now there are a few things in the water that eventually we do, but our goal obviously is to claim the grain bin. Um, and if you notice here, this is the exact same robot with a little bit of a prototype upgrade. Put the tank treads on. It takes about 5 minutes to swap from augers to tank treads. And then we can sweep the floor and actually uh, we can throw grain up over the back of the sweep auger. And when we get it set just right, it cleans that floor pretty darn slick. So we're pretty excited about this one. This upgrade will be available. Um, the robots that we're selling now can manage this upgrade, but the actual components for the upgrade will be available in the spring.
So do you foresee a day when that will replace sweeps completely or?
No, this is more just your broom and shovel. There we do have a strategy where on a smaller bin we can do it without a sweep. But once you get down to about a foot and a half of grain, um, the system it's hard to move grain, so it just slows way down. So for efficiencies, what's happening with this, and then with a lot of the action this summer has been during the clean outs. We're seeing about a 30% reduction in the amount of time it takes to clean out your bins from that last 10% to empty. just by feeding the augers and pushing grain out. So we're extremely excited about that last phase of the grain bin. This is more for our commercial friends. We talk about big flat storage facilities. We can now hook two robots together and they become one unit. We got a little bit more testing to do on efficiencies, but this moves 5 or 6 times more grain than standard two robots alone. So just kind of a fun little side project we do with these commercial trials to help ensure that we can move more grain and keep up with their workflows. This one, ignore the horn on the front. We can talk about that in a second. But the rest of the robot is what you see. It's our new version of our model that is coming out now. Big difference is how we use the trim pieces, and that helped us get to our dust and waterproof stages. But then it also allows us to hook on different attachments and make it easier to connect different things to it as we start to talk about accessories and the next stages. I'll explain the power auger on the front in a second. You don't need to hear that. Just again, we got a few use cases where it's more about just getting out and having some fun. But we were trying to do some tests in a sand situation, just different materials, different tests of the unit. And so this is at coral pink sand dunes in southern Utah. So this is that power auger. We put it on the front of the robot. This happens to be in a flat storage with pretty steep angle of repose. So you can see we're moving a ton of grain, and that starting to show promise that we can move grain efficiently with that power auger, not just with the robot. We've had a few. The next time we went out, we were on a little bit wetter grain, a little bit flatter, and then it just kind of piled up on one end. So we've got a lot of testing yet to do with this one. This one actually works really, really well on pistachios, though. So if you guys know anybody out in California that stores pistachios, we're coming. We've been out there to do a few tests now, so that's kind of fun. So this is in the rice bin, so it's kind of hard to see. But as you can start to see, the robot does work on rice really well. Starts to chew into that cliffing and move down the sidewalls. This is actually a test unit that we have in Brazil. So not only are they testing it in rice, they're also learning how to drive it. So we got to go back down there in a few months to teach them how to drive. So here's that power auger and pistachios. I threw this in here just so if none of you have ever seen the inside of a pistachio grain bin. That metal thing in the center is a slipper slide, and that's how they load the bin. The pistachios don't fall; they go down that slide and then roll out. So kind of a unique scenario for us. Here's that double robot working together compared to a single one. And this is a picture of the robot as you swap out those tank treads. So it's a lot of fun because throughout this whole time process, one of the biggest requests from farmers is, man, if you can get me out from behind that auger, or I don't have to get in there and sweep and do the clean outs. That's a big step. So we're pretty excited about this one. And as you can tell, it probably can be used outside of your grain bin as well in this scenario. But for now, we're still focused on getting that out as a product to sweep your grain bin, not as a product to clean your driveways or do any of those other fun things. But we also know you're gonna, so it's pretty cool. But so yeah, that was just wanted to show a few of the fun things that we're doing, and it's pretty exciting for us right now. Some of you might have seen some of the videos or photos from our robot shop, but we're all set up to build 100 robots. And this 100 batch of robots will be ready to go. We're going to start taking order sales middle to the end of August, and we'll start delivering them in the first weeks of September. So we're excited to finally be there. Lot of fun things. The one piece of update that we don't have on the video very well yet is the autonomy. So this version of the robot that's coming out has a radar system in both the front and the back. Not a super complex, radar system like on some of the vehicles and those kind of things. It's really, really, really simple. But what it does is it detects obstacles. So it can see the grain bin walls, it can see augers, it can see rope sensors. We're still dialing in the rope sensors a little bit. It sees them most of the time, but most of the time is not quite good enough when you start getting close to a cable sensor. But once you get right up on the cable sensor, it backs away from it, and we've done some extensive testing on what happens if we do get into a cable sensor. But we back right out and it comes right off. So that's the exciting part about it. It's kind of like when you get your long hair wrapped up in a one of those little spinny toys. But it's so yeah, we're super excited because we're very close to being able to. If you have no cable sensors, you can run the robot for a full hour without interacting with it, and then you pull it out to charge it, throw it back in, and run it again. So each iteration is getting better and better. So that a lot of exciting things been happening. One of the aspects that we're starting to talk a lot about. Everybody has seen all the videos and knows that this is a safety machine. It's designed to keep farmers and workers out of the grain bins. But I think the biggest surprise that we've had is the impact that it's having on grain quality, reducing drying times. And it's not reinventing the wheel. Leveling a grain bin reduces drying times. It's proven science, and there's years and years and years and years of facts that back that up. The difference is we do it with a robot instead of a human being. And then we do a few other things, re-leveling inverted cones so you can store at even air flows and moisture flows throughout the whole storage process, even if you take some out. Obviously, we can break up the crust. We're finding some interesting findings on bug habitats and how we keep disrupting the bug habitats and reducing the amount of bugs. So we've got a world-renowned entomologist that's now advising us on our impact on the bug life inside of a grain bin. So that's a pretty cool thing. I mean, like I said, on the clean outs, as you start to get that robot or the grain bin coned out, using the robot to either push the grain into the sweep augers or into the sump, it's drastically improving the amount of time it takes to do that. And if you have a new sweep auger, one of those nice big new paddle sweeps, we're seeing 25 to 30% improvement in times. If you have an older system or a grain vac, we're seeing 50 to 60% improvements in time. So that's pretty cool for us. But as we start to get into these sales, we know it's a lot more about your bottom line and saving money and saving your grain and making sure when you get ready to sell, you have the best product available. And the robot is rapidly becoming a tool for you to do that. So that was it. I rambled way longer than I should have, but now questions, things you want me to dive in deeper. Paul's got burning questions about fishing, but we got to talk about the robot first.
Always use the parachute.
Anybody want to jump on and fire away with the questions?
Yeah, how heavy is that machine?
Yeah, so the robot weighs 50 pounds and 48 pounds in its current configuration. Part of the package that we sell comes with a lift system that you put on a grain bin, and it can pull it up from the ground, drop it into the grain bin. We do detach it from the tether, and the robot operates without a tether, and then you come back, hooks back onto the robot hook, pulls it up out of the grain bin to be charged or moved to another grain bin.
So
So-
nobody has to go in the grain bin to retrieve it.
Nobody has to go to the grain bin to retrieve it. If you do have a catastrophic failure, there's two scenarios in which the robot, the robot dies, where something went wrong and everything shuts off, or if you flip it over. But there are ways to rescue the robot, several ways to do it without entry, and then the best way to do it is with a second robot. So if you have a big enough farm where you have multiple robots, they can rescue each other. If you don't, then our Benesis partners, that's part of the reason why we're building out that network of service. They could come, throw their robot in, take them about 10 minutes to retrieve the robot and help you figure out what was wrong with it. So we really do encourage zero entry. And we know a lot of people still have the practice of going into their grain bins, and we understand that, but our goal is, there's ways to ensure following the guidelines and keeping an eye on the robot to make sure you're operating it correctly. We've had very few instances where the robot has to be retrieved.
I'm sorry if I missed this part. Is it autonomous or is somebody driving it?
Right now, most of the operations are human controlled with a camera system, but the autonomous features right now for leveling only, and you still have to supervise it. So it's not just throw it in there and go away for 3 hours and come back, but you got to keep an eye on it. So, and especially if you have those cable sensors, until we start to get more and more hours on it to ensure that it can detect. So for the most part, yes, you are operating it, but it does also move more grain. We're about 1.5 person hours for a robot hour. So we're not quite up to 2 people yet, but we're getting close. So getting more and more and more efficient. So our goal is that we would replace 2 shovels instead of just 1.
Thank you.
Swarm capability, if you have 2 bots in the bin at once, can one person run them both?
Yeah, actually, one person running both, yes. So what'll happen is you set one of them up to run autonomous, and well, you can set them both up to run autonomous. But usually, what we do is one person sets up the autonomous to run, and then uses the other one to either feed the autonomy or to move things in different areas. So one operator, 2 robots. The full swarming capabilities where robots know where robots are and all that kind of stuff, it functions on our desk, but not in the grain bin yet. But it's getting really close. So this fall, we'll be testing our full location system where we can pinpoint locate where the robot is in a 3D map. So as that starts to develop, each of these robots can be upgraded to future autonomy, including the full autonomous capabilities. We do have some external components that go with that full autonomy, radio systems that help triangulate where the robot is inside of the bin. So that's coming someday soon. Hopefully you can just chuck your robot in there and go home and watch football. But for now, it's still human supervised.
Chad, can you replay your rice video? I see Brig jumped on. Good evening, Brig.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm late.
No, you're fine. Let me see if I can find it.
He'll be one of our rice growers that
Okay.
certainly have questions.
We can fight for ourselves out there. We fought for each other. We're right. So the lieutenant drilled into us. We followed his lead.
Oh no, that's
Change. He started dying. It's been broke.
Philip,
What?
can you?
Go
all
inside.
right. Can you see that one now?
Kinda. One of these
Yeah.
days they're gonna make an iPhone with a 56-inch screen that I can see.
Yeah. So basically what's going on here, we're up against a bunch of pillaring up on the side.
Yeah.
The robot operates well on the rice. It can break through the cliffing and the pillaring, and it moves the grain pretty well. The battery doesn't last quite as long in rice as it does in corn. Obviously, a little more dense, a little more friction going on there. But
Right.
this is actually a trial that's going on in Brazil. So they're not only learning how to do it in rice, they're learning how to drive the robot. So they haven't even mastered the robot yet.
Yeah.
So, but it moves well.
How does
We've
it
been-
wear? Rice is super abrasive, and
Yeah. So we
Oh.
haven't done any long-term studies yet. Been holding off on getting down where we could do long-term stuff yet. The only things that really the auger systems have an opportunity to wear, but they're super easy. You can swap the augers in less than a minute, and they're not very well. The 3D printed ones that we had on the last versions were really expensive, but this version that's coming out now, we have their injection molded augers, so they're super robust. They're the self lubricating plastic, and then the other piece of it too is you're not compressing it onto your augers; it's free flowing around the machine, so it helps a lot. So
this hybrid rice that we're dealing with now is super abrasive, and so much so. Let me give you an example. I've got 125,000 bushel bin. We put dry rice in. When we're unloading that bin, we get one trip around with the sweep auger, and the sweep auger is worn out. We have to replace it before we fill it back up with rice again.
Your metal augers?
Yes.
Yeah. So that's why we went with poly. They wear less than metal does, which surprised the living daylights out of me. So, and then also that whole concept of friction, because we're floating on the surface and the grain can free flow out around. And I'm not saying that we're not going to have to replace those augers, but I think we're going to be pretty confident that the robot will survive at least a season.
That's great. That's great.
And I think it's like $20 to replace an auger section. So it's not terribly expensive.
Not prohibitive, cost prohibitive. Okay.
Yeah, exactly. So
great.
So yeah, we're looking forward to doing some more. One of the big reasons that we've kind of held off on rice is just a lot of interest from commercial facilities, and we're still not through the full dust explosion certification. So we're just pretty aware of that, with rice being a little bit lower temperature for the dust ignition. So we will pass all the tests. We're engineered behind it. We stay about half the temperature necessary in our hottest scenarios, which are fault scenarios where the robot gets stuck on and runs as fast as it can for an hour and a half and all of that. But the good news is we're on pace to get a batch of robots certified spring, and then our full manufacturing certification, where every robot that comes off the line will be a year from now in August. Every robot will be hazardous location certified. So we've done all the tests in-house. You won't care about this one, but the one test we haven't passed yet is -20 below, and dropping on concrete floor 4 times. So we've passed that 3 times, but not 4. So
people don't have any business living somewhere it's -20.
Well, people ask me all the time, why does it need to be that low? Because we can set the temperature that we say it can't be used lower than this temperature. And I'm like, well, we've been in a grain bin when it's that cold. So if
people don't need to be living there, the damn sure don't need to be working when it's -20.
Yeah. But I bet Mark's been in a grain bin with ice in it. Yep. Yes. We did a lot of ice breakups this year, which was crazy. Like 2 or 3 inches of ice on the top. Chews right through it, but it's no fun being out there.
No, sir.
You mentioned your dealer network. How is that coming together, or how do guys on the call find your dealer network list? Is that on your website or?
Yeah, so it's on the website. So started off with 9 of them right through the Midwest. We're going to add a 10th sometime very soon. I think all we had left was insurance question. So hopefully we'll get that. And he's a little bit further south. So I'll let him make that announcement when he's ready. But we're we're expanding a little bit this fall. So yeah, there's 1 in Nebraska, 4 in Iowa, 2 in Illinois, and 2 in Indiana, and then 1 in coming on board in Tennessee very, very soon. And then we'll start to expand a little bit beyond that. It doesn't mean we can't sell robots to people that aren't in that territory. It's just those were the target areas for, where we can get you service within 2 hours and those kind of things. So that will expand with demand, and we'll probably look at adding 5 or 6 more in different territories, probably early in the spring, as we start to do that. But yeah, all of those are online. If you don't find somebody that's in within a couple hours of your location, there's a form and you just get right to us, and then we basically become your business partner, and we just have to do it a little more remotely. So
And your traditional dealers right now, you've been working with drone companies, or?
it's been a mix. We got a couple of farmers, we got a couple of drone companies, we got a grain bin intelligent installation company. We got one guy that just sells the grain testing units. So there's a large variety, but we've kept them as independent. So we haven't gone with the John Deere dealerships or any of those other groups yet. Mostly because we've selected people based on how they can represent our brand, and how we feel like having a personal touch to our robot the first few years that it comes out is really, really important. We can pick folks that we know can service the robot, can provide robots as a service, can do all those things, where a lot of the dealer networks just want to sell robots and leave you alone. So that's kind of why we went down this path. And we're not saying that it's going to always just be independent business partners, but we like what we've got so far. So that's the path we're heading down.
Hey, this is Phil. And I was asking, with an autonomous, you're coming out with an autonomous robot, and next you're using AI. How is that? How are you learning to, use that robot and learn to use AI? Because I hear that's a lot going on now.
Yeah, so I got to be careful, because my electronics engineer and my software engineers, they despise the bandwagon of saying we're using AI. We are doing machine learning. We are learning from the robot and collecting data on the robot, and starting to build systems that can be intelligent. But we're not really integrating what most technical people say is AI. And so what we are doing is making it so it can 3D map, give you temperature, moisture, grain quality. We can optimize path planning, so that we can maximize the efficiency of the robot and get the work done faster, allow the robots to work together, those kind of things. There are a few things that we're learning from the robot. One of the things, we can detect different densities based on, we know it's this slope, it's supposed to be corn, it's this moisture. Why is it taking me more energy to move than it, so we can detect different challenges and problems just based on the current draw. And eventually we think we can use that to calculate actual, a better bushel calculation as opposed to just volume. Actually do a little bit of test weight estimation based on those kind of readings. But in all reality, I mean, yeah, I could say we're going to be using AI, but it's an intelligent robot. It's not doing any deep learning about um, anything other than most efficient patterns, I guess is the best way to say it. So I would love to tell you that it's AI, but my guys would throw me out with a bathwater. So
Yeah, it's crazy to think 100 years ago you never hear of AI or a robots
yeah,
in your bin. So that's just I'm
yeah.
just trying to understand all that because that's pretty interesting.
It's going to be very, very cool. So, I mean, all of you guys have been inside of a grain bin, and sometimes your cell phone will work, sometimes it won't. If we have a Wi-Fi communication between our robot inside of a grain bin, um, we get bad information about 45% of the time,
Yeah, it's all
and that's
steel.
yeah, it's so bad. So we're building this whole system that uses long range radio to do really fine motor measurements. So we can pinpoint where the robot is in a three-dimensional scale with this super cool math. Um, and then once that happens, the coolest part about this is we call it grain flow intelligence, but it's bringing precision ag to your bin. You can move a truckload of grain to any part of your bin that you want, precisely with the robot. You put in oh man, I just dumped a 18% moisture truckload into a 12% moisture bin. We can move it around. We can tell you right where it goes. We can spread it out. We can, so that's what the future is. The future is precisely controlling airflow and moisture and material flow, and that's the exciting part.
Hey Chad, this is Mark. You ended up putting your battery right in the unit, right? It's self-contained. It can't be
Yeah.
an add-on. And how long would in a corn bin? How long would the battery last? And then how much time to charge it after
Yeah.
you need to?
So the reason we did that is because of the safety aspects to be able to do a swappable. Like there are 0 robots in the entire world that are grain dust explosion certified. There will be 1 in April. Or maybe there'll be 10 in April because we're trying to get 10 of them done. But so being able to swap battery became prohibitive on the safety side of things.
Mhm.
This battery in normal conditions, we recommend that you run it as hard as you can for an hour. If you're in a 36, 38-foot grain bin, you can run it for 90 minutes and get a full, completely leveled bin. But you're starting to slow down quite a bit there at the end. And so for efficiency wise, we say run it hard for an hour. And if you have our standard charger, which uses a 110 outlet, takes 20 minutes to recharge and gives you another hour. If you are on a 220 system, you can use the supercharger and charge it in 12 minutes. So it can do the super fast charging. Most of our recommendations that in the scenarios, you have if you have enough grain to justify multiple robots, the rotation of robots is the ideal way. You can, like most of our commercial facilities or and our Benesis partners have 3 robots. That way they can always run 2 and charge 1, and they can go all day long every day like that. I know most farms aren't big enough to do that, but those that are can use multiple robots to adjust for that time. But it doesn't seem like a very long time to in 20 minutes. You take a lot longer of a lunch break if you're doing it with shovel.
Yeah, we can take a 20-minute break in an hour. There's nothing wrong with that,
Yeah,
right?
yeah. So it's kind of the holy grail as we start to develop our goal is to be able to fully operate as hard as you want to go for 2 hours, and then have that 20-minute time frame, because then you start to think about maybe being able to level a 48-foot bin in 4 hours of robot time. That we're getting close to that. So those are the kind of things that we're starting to gain some of those efficiencies, and that's the autonomy helps gain those efficiencies. You don't have to run it as fast because you're not as bored, and not trying to get out of there. It just runs steady and takes care of business.
But we're excited to try it. Ethan's got
Yeah.
ours in West Bend. Talked to him
Yeah.
the other day. He's going to try to
Good.
get it up here pretty soon. So we're right in the thick of emptying bins now, and
Yeah.
excited to try it out.
Sounds good. You need to let us know, and maybe we'll sneak the sweeper over there and do some tests when you're ready to broom some as well.
Oh yeah, I think we got two 48s, and then probably a 36 to sweep yet when we get down there. So got a couple bins to try it on.
That sounds good. We're going to be busy for a couple of weeks, but building robots, it takes all of us. So
You kind of
we're also, oh, go ahead.
kind of led into another question I had. You
Yeah.
mentioned 36 and 48-foot bins, but do you have kind of a recommended robots per bin as the size goes up?
Yeah. So really it one robot can manage a 2 million bushel flat storage facility if you want to give it the amount of time that it takes. We recommend 50 foot and below. One robot's going to meet everybody's workflow needs. You start to get above 50, you really start to see efficiencies with two robots working together, especially if you can offset the charge time. So you always have robots running. But really, when you start to get into that, 80 foot, 110 foot bushel bins, diameter bins, as some of these farms are getting bigger and bigger bins, having that 3 robot cycle is the most efficient way. And we estimate there's one robot can manage about 500,000 bushels efficiently. So if you have a million bushels of grain on storage, or 1.5 million, 3 robots is ideal. That's going to give you the best scenario, but it's just time. A 60-foot bin takes, I don't know, you take 80% of what it would take a human being to do, so 16 hours. So the robot could probably do it in 14 hours, maybe 12 if we really got after it. So it just takes, it takes a long time to work the bigger bins. So we always just recommend, if you have enough to justify getting 2, you're going to get a lot more efficiency than you would just with one alone.
Your service provider guys, then, are they charging by the bushel or by the bin, or
Most of them have ended up charging. We kind of left it up to them to see what the market would bear. They're all charging by the hour, and they'll do a standard. Most of them will do a standard, 48-foot bin. Should take 6 robot hours. So they'll charge for 6 robot hours, but they'll have 2 robots running at all times. And then if the situation isn't, I love all you guys, but sometimes your description of how good or bad your grain is not always truthful. So we show up in a lot of grain bins where it's a lot nastier than they thought it was. So some of those, we always have the caveat that it may cost you a little bit more to get it completely finished if it's worse than that scenario. But I think most people are finding that hourly rate works best for everybody.
so will you have a rating system like Uber and Airbnb and all that sooner or later?
No, because we don't want to have we do not want to become that drone company, right? Like if you want somebody to come spray your fields, you've got 9 options and 8 of them are your neighbors a mile away. It's wild west, so we want these people, these businesses partners, to have a territory, to be able to establish relationships with their farmers and not overlap each other and not compare and not, we do have expectations of quality, and that's part of their contracts, is that if they're not representing our robots well, then we address that. But no rating systems, but definitely, I'm sure there's going to be 5-star reviews or 1-star reviews if the robot doesn't work or whatever. But we really try to not overlap those things to have comparisons between the business partners, because it's, our goal is to get as many of them out there as we can, and we want these guys to make some money doing it. We want you guys to make money doing it. We want, obviously, we're in it to run a business as well. So, and I think we've got a plan. The way we're marketing things, and the pricing structures are, the ROIs are there for all of us. So that's our goal.
So I have a question.
Yes.
I just love to overfill my bins.
Mm.
I wouldn't want you
I'll-
pushing it out over the sides. Can you talk about that?
Yeah, so we have a whole series of what we call iMessages, to help our business partners explain how this works. So iCore, okay, fine, but here's how the robot can help you if all you think, all you do is core. And I overfill is definitely one of those. So a couple of things. The robot can do inspections without moving grain, just how you operate the robot. The other thing is, if you leave 2 inches of space on your top ring, we can pull a 12-foot peak on a 48-foot bend down to about a 3-foot hump without spilling it over the edges. So we can still give you a significant increase in airflow efficiencies by knocking off that peak. Now, if you go all the way to the top, we need about 12 inches to operate, and we've been in a lot of those bins where we just are really trying to round off that peak a little bit and then do inspections. But we can get in on that other side and see what it looks like and stream the video and those kind of things too. So, but we always recommend that airflow efficiency is probably a better ROI than overfilling, but we don't have the numbers to back it up yet. But we leave us a couple inches and we can really get the maximum of both.
Any other parting thoughts, final questions? Been a great conversation here, Chad. Somebody's trying.
I got this, Grant. Chad, you mentioned about if you dumped a load of really wet corn in a dry bin, that you can move it around where you want to. Can you elaborate a little bit more on that?
Yeah. So obviously, the idea of layering grain bins has been around forever. And we can do it every truckload. If you want to take that time, obviously, when it becomes fully autonomous and can take care of itself, then you can definitely do every layer. But in between the times that you bring in a load, we can move about 5,000 bushels off that peak and spread that out. So if you have a bad load, you know what, you're down in the bottoms and it was just nasty and dirty and gross, you can throw a robot up in there and run for half an hour, 45 minutes, and disperse all that stuff evenly, and prepare it so that it's not just a big old ball in the middle of your grain bin. And that's one of the items as we start to discuss the long-term impacts. The ability to actually layer and put in the moisture of grain you want at every layer, it's something that's never been feasible before, because nobody's leveling a bin more than once. But with your robot, you can. So that's what, it's an opportunity right now to say, hey, I know I just dumped in some nasty stuff, and if I take care of it now, it's not going to become a problem later. It may take an extra hour, or better yet, it takes your 13-year-old kid get to skip school that day because he's got to go level the bin while you're out cutting still. So that's the fun part about this too. We see a lot of those younger kids. Several of our farms have young teens that are now taking over the grain bin operations because they operate the robot. Still encourage the adults to move the robot from bin to bin and those kind of things. But it's fun to see, giving them some ownership and responsibility and really making a difference. And man, they're good at it. 5-year-olds are good at it, which is crazy. It's amazing how these kids can just latch onto this and understand. It's intuitive. So
So
That's
I had a question. So
Yep.
the robot, do you have like a camera that shows you can run it with a controller and show the camera?
Yeah, so actually the camera system that we sent out with you won't want to when you get that camera, and we're going to swap that camera out real soon. The new camera systems are sitting in customs right now. We won't get into that whole thing, but the new camera systems that we're building now and will replace for all those that are out um, has a front and rear view camera. So when you put it on the top of the robot, you actually get a sense of spatial awareness, which that was the hardest part about all the cameras on the robots before, is you could just see in front of you, which didn't work very well. But this new camera system, you strap it on the robot or stick it up on top of the bin, just like you do the older version. And then, yeah, you got a really cool first person view of what's going on with the robot to do inspections and things as well.
Yeah, because I was thinking about when if you're not in the bin, just running outside, you can watch it and then plug it in, watch it, and then
Yep, that's it. Sit in your
be like
truck.
a 360 view of what you're doing inside the bin.
Not full 360, but pretty wide angle on both front and the back.
Yeah.
Moving.
That's the same warehouse with all the DJI parts in it, like a relay that I could have used. So during this call, I wasn't running in the truck a half an hour to recap the signal with the drone and flying right now and behind the tree.
I'm sorry, Joe. I couldn't hear you very well there.
AirPods, I'm out running a drone and I can use a relay and they're stuck in warehouses. So I didn't know if that was the same warehouse.
It's not the warehouse. It's the tariff bill that they gave us was about 3 times what the cost of the product was, and no one can explain to us why. So we're fighting that tariff. So that's the problem. We got a massive bill and no one knows how we got it or how they calculated it or what. So we're having fun dealing with that. So. All right. Well, you guys are ever up north or out west for some of you. More than love to show you around the robot shop and see how we build the robots and check that place out. It's a pretty cool place. So everybody's welcome to come and visit if you're in the neighborhood.
That's in Omaha then?
Yeah, it's officially in La Vista, which is on the southwest corner of Omaha. If you know where the Cabela's is, you can find us.
All right, I'm gonna shut off recording here.